verse 13. And in the midst of the 7 candlesticks, one like unto the Son of Man, cloth with a garment down to the foot, and a girt above the paps with a golden girdle. His head and his hairs were white like wool, as white as snow.
Right.
And his eyes.
See, hey, Paul, read that one more time. Right? Go ahead, read that one more time.
Oh, sorry.
So it says,
Yeah, read it.
verse 14.
Yeah.
His head and his hairs were white like wool.
Hey, so here's the contrast. His head and his hair was white like wool. White, right? Wool is a texture. It's not a color, it's a texture. We have black sheep too. So it's talking about a texture. This man doesn't have woolly hair. He has long, stringy, dog-like, wet dog-like hair. So that's strike one. Right? Go ahead.
It says, as white as snow, and his eyes were as a flame of fire.
His eyes are blue. And his hair wasn't white. His hair was brown. His eyes are blue. Right? Which is another, that actually goes into a curse. Well, we'll go into that some other time. Now, Yahushua had red eyes. Why? Because he was drinking. Why was he drinking? Because he was stressed. He was going through a lot of hell when he was here. Right?
And it also means wisdom. That's another topic.
Go ahead.
And his feet like unto fine brass,
Okay.
as if they burned in a furnace.
Hold on. What color is brass? You know what color brass is? Gold? Okay, so there's 3 medals in Olympics, right? There's bronze, silver, and gold, like I said, right? The bronze one, right, is made of what? Brass, like a penny, right? So it's not gold, it's brown.
Right.
But it went further as to explain what kind of brass. It says that it was a you can burn anything in a fire, doesn't matter what it is. What color does it become? Darker, black.
That's right. And that's strike 3. This guy is nowhere near that color. So he's out. He's not the real one. He's not the judge. Right? This is not the depiction of the Son of the Lord. This is a deception from Esau, from the wicked, the physical counterpart of the devil. Right? Which the word devil just means deceiver.
1, 3, 4, 8.
Okay? That was it on that app?
What? You want some basics?
Want me to finish it here?
Okay.
And his voice as the sound of many waters. And he had in his right hand 7 stars, and out of his mouth went a sharp 2-edged sword, and his countenance was as the sun shineth in his strength.
Yeah, so his voice like rushing waters. That's why his men speak the same way. Because when you go into his account, he spoke with authority, and it actually offended the people that were listening to him. Right? Because he spoke with authority. In this society, you gotta watch out speaking with authority because you get in trouble. Right? You can get in trouble, and it's all just really to what's the term I'm looking for? Basically demasculate the man. Because that happens at times anyways. Right? And we're in business in traffic. So it doesn't make sense to sound quiet anyways. Right?
And also, brother, before we go on, we bring the color of Yahushai's real name, it's not Jesus. But when I was preaching colorism here, okay?
Right.
So when you first came, we'll ask you, do you sell something a sign? Or you're parking a bike, whatever? So it's not a color thing. Okay, so don't think, oh, it's all about black people. It's not. Because within our nation, there's different variation of color.
That's right.
All right? So we're not thinking, so don't think we're thinking, you could be one of us. All right. All right, cool. This is Daniel chapter 7, verse 9. I beheld till the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit, whose garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head like the pure wool.
That's right. So this is a prophet of the Lord, Daniel, and he got a vision of what the Lord looks like. The Most High. Yeah, the Father. What the Most High looks like. Right? Go ahead. Is that it on that? It's more.
And his throne was like a fire flame, and his wheels as a burning fire. Yeah.
That's right. So if the Heavenly Father, the top man, has woolly hair and brown skin, it would only make sense that his son follows the same depiction. right? Straightforward.
Like the term chip off the old block, right? Which means it looks like exactly his father. And most men, if you have a son, you want a son to emulate you and look like you. That makes you have more closeness to the son. Not saying it looks like you won't like him, but it looks better than his. That's my boy, man. It looks like you feel proud, right? So Heavenly Father is going to make his son exactly like him, looking like him, right?
That one?
I got a quick script. What the Michelangelo?
Okay.
The painting, where that picture came from.
Yeah.
This is First Maccabees chapter 3. I just jumped to the point. Verse 48. It says, and the law were in the
It's talking about the other nations, the Greeks of the time, right? And going down to the Romans, they depicted themselves as the holy saints, the prophets that the Bible speaks of. Okay, go ahead.
I just jumped up to 52. It says, and lo, the heathens are assembled together against us to destroy us.
Which is nothing new. Because if you go back to Serapis, they did that at that time too, right? Most Caucasians who are in power have themselves painted as some sort of god. That's just something that they do, right? Whether it's Bacchus, whether it's Pan, right? The god Pan. You might see some. What's his name? Did that? Hugh Hefner. He had a painting of himself, and he was half man and half goat. Right? So a lot of them do that.
Let it on that up.
Hold on. What things they imagine against us, thou knowest how shall we be able to stand against them, except thou, O power, Yahweh, be our help.
That's right. Now, we read that these heathens, beginning with Esau, right, the Caucasians, the so-called Caucasians, they went into the book of the law and they basically depicted themselves as the saints, the prophets. Now, there's a reason for that, though. It goes back. You got that Genesis?
Yeah.
It goes back to Esau and Jacob.
Genesis 27 and 38. And Esau said unto his father, hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me even also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept.
So Esau represents what everybody calls the so-called white man, the Caucasians. Jacob represents these people, so-called Negroes, Latinos, North American Indians on down. Now, when you go into the story, his brother supplanted him, tricked him with a birthright. It goes to the oldest. Esau was the oldest, but he was tricked by his brother to give up his birthright for raw meat, right? Steak that's raw, not well done. And because of that, he sought to his father for another blessing. He cried about it. He got mad about it.
Yeah, he prayed about it.
What his birthright has to do with patience, right? You have to wait for it. For instance, Esau hated his birthright. That's why today you have to think on microwave, right? Because waiting for anything. Who was the fastest car, right? How fast food. Everything about him is quick. But we have to wait patiently for hours. Okay? So that's why he hates, he has no patience. Right? And just suffer. Done.
He says, verse 39, and Isaac his father answered and said unto him, behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and of the dew of heaven from above. And by the sword shalt thou live.
That's talking about what? Now you bring it down to today's time. Your military, your weaponry, the missiles, going really America. You brought out those banking families, right, that run America. Their blessing is in war. It's in war, right? That's talking about the sword.
Have you heard of the Gatling gun? White guy, right? Smith and Wesson, right? Burshnikov, right? So Kalashnikov, whatever it's called, you know. See, I don't know him, you know. But you see, it's showing you who is fulfilling this prophecy, right? That's his blessing to rule by the sword, right? You watch a Western movie, they're fastest in the guns, right? They want to portray themselves as be the fastest. And mind you, there's so-called black men who are faster than them, but they didn't feature those ones, right? To show that them being the fastest at it, right?
That's right.
So,
Alright, and it says, and by the sword shalt thou live, and shalt serve thy brother, and it shall come to pass when thou shalt have the dominion, and thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck.
Now, we went into this earlier. Go to when they were born and fighting in the womb. So we read this earlier. What that means is when you go into history, it's called the Dark Ages. So the Dark Ages was called the Dark Ages because so-called black people ruled. Right? Now, what he read about his brother breaking the yoke off his neck, you're going to break your younger brother's yoke off your neck, is talking about that time because at that time you had, right, the Byzantine Empire. At that time, you had these Caucasians, they were actually our servants, right? And over time, that they came in and overtook our rulership, broke down our rulership, and then you got what, about 1500s? 1500s? 1300s comes water, which is what you call the Renaissance age. And that's when they went into heavy, going into the book of the law and changing the colors and everything like that. But that was already prophesied that they were going to do that into the Bible. So that's chronology and timeline there for you as well. Right?
Well, they had to do that as well because completely got taken over in Europe. They also married into the royal family as well, right? That's how you got certain lines of kings, queens who are Caucasians. But when you trace the lineage of the royal blood, you're only going to find dark-skinned people, right? That's it. Some of them were names, so and so the black, or the black boy, or the this. It just was, or usually it goes all the way back to Kenneth the Niger. A lot of royals can be traced all the way back to Kenneth the Niger, Charles the Black Boy. That's right, man. No, well, to be honest, we can't even blame them either because us so-called black people, we don't even know why. It's not honest. Yeah. Well, that history was destroyed. Hit it. Get it off. Got it strong. It's not going to happen, but it's still happening. Who was in the dark age? There's something happened because it was still
Okay, good.
Oh yeah, get that first.
Yeah, get that first.
Genesis 25?
Yeah.
Alright, Genesis 25 and 21. And Isaac entreated the Lord Yahweh for his wife because she was barren.
Yeah, but the brother, hold on, the brother brought the information. Read some of this. It's right here. Bring some of that information out. You got the information there.
King James I of England was a black man. So we got here, we got King James I of England and VI of Scotland was born in 1566 to Henry Stuart and Mary Queen of Scots.
And that last name, the name Stuart goes back to what? To Swart. Stuart, which was what? Dark.
so does Scott. Same thing, dark.
Same thing. Same thing.
It says,
So to have that last name, going back to the disinformation that we were taught, because all of us were taught that our last name came from slavery. We were all taught that. I don't care what you tell me. Every single one of us were taught, oh, you have a white man's last name because it goes back to your slave owner. Actually, no, those are your last names.
right.
Those are your last names. All of them. Johnson,
Brown,
Stewart,
Black,
Brown, Jones.
Smith.
They're all yours. All yours. Yeah, Smith. Yeah, exactly. Donald was a good one.
It says the name Swart goes back to Swat, meaning black. James is.
That's why the Khazars call you Swatson.
That's right.
And that's why Hitler, I think, got a SWAT sticker, right? The black mark.
That's right.
That's right. James is Old English for Jacob. Hence, in the inscription, it says Rex, Latin for king, Jacobus. Jacob. The era in which James ruled was known as the Jacobean era. So that's history right there, telling you that we ruled.
There's that add-on when you're mentioning the word Jack. So that
Same thing.
when they put son on it, it means son of Jacob. Right? So if I go back
Jack
to
son.
right? Or in French, you say Jacques. Right?
Yes, it's Jeremiah 51, chapter 51, verse 19. The portion of Jacob is not like them, for he is the former of all things, and Israel is a rod of his inheritance. The Lord of hosts is his name.
Yeah, that means that a lot of these inventions that you see here today actually goes back to the so-called Negro, Latino, North American Indians, like the refrigerator, stoplight, right, traffic light, light
And the
bulb,
car.
The cotton gin.
car,
Cotton gin.
cotton gin.
It's applied logic that if you have slaves, you're not gonna make their jobs easier for them. So how can I make my slave work less? Say, do what you gotta do what you gotta do. So when you're this, man, how do I make this easier? So you're gonna find a way to make it easier and make inventions. And say, boss, look what I made. So, oh, that's nice. That's mine now because you can't copyright it, trademark it. Right?
Even when we're in Egypt, they're still trying to figure out how to do those big slabs. Right?
To this day.
They can't figure it out. They can't figure it out.
And a lot of things you see, like all those things with architectures, with like intricate designs, nothing is under the sun. There's something called molding. So when you see something like cut really nice, it's just molds. They pour concrete or whatever it is and make it in the mold, and they have like this nice designs to it. Because I used to do that. And we say, how do you do it? Nothing under the sun. It's molding, right? We see those things in Russia. Those nice infrastructures. It's molds, right? It's none of that some high tech things and cut things, molds. That's all it was.
Hey, real quick insert. This is Israelite inventors. So the brother read Jeremiah 10:16. The portion of Jacob is not like them, not like who? The rest of the world, the rest of the nations. For he is the former of all things, and Israel is the rod of his inheritance. The Lord Yahweh of hosts is his name. Now you go into certain inventions like what? The elevator, stoplight, even going back to a missile, which this guy just brought up. He helped the guy who created it split the atom to be able to do that. Right? Real quick, it says the ancient natives, because they're Israelites too, right? The ancient natives of Peru constructed suspension bridges similar to modern ones you see in New York. Workers made the cables at the site where the bridge was to be erected. A technique that would be used centuries later for steel cables when the Brooklyn Bridge was constructed in New York in 1864. So
they're still finding pyramids in South America right now, and they're huge. They say huge. Is it Guatemala? Huge, but it's hidden by the forest.
Yeah, mudslides. So that you saw mudslides that don't happen to the age.
So now go back to Genesis
25?
Yeah, okay, quick.
I just had a quick precept though.
All right, cut.
Exodus 1:11. Therefore did they set over them taskmasters to afflict them with their burdens, and they built for Pharaoh treasure cities, Pithom and Ramses. So going into the designs of how they did Egypt, the pyramids, and all the other things, that was all of Israel. Israelites built that. They designed that. You know?
Just like slavery coming over here to the Americans.
And now this is Genesis 25 and 21.
Now, I brought this, told the brother to bring this precept up because it's the reason why Esau went into the book and depicted everything and tried to paint himself as the prophets and everything like that. Right? Go ahead.
And it said, Genesis 25 and 21. Isaac entreated the Lord Yahweh for his wife because she was barren. And the Lord Yahweh was entreated of him. And Rebekah, his wife, conceived. And the children struggled together within her. And she said, if it be so, why am I thus?
That's right.
She went to inquire of the Lord Yahweh.
That's right.
The Lord Yahweh said unto her.
So she had twins in her belly, right? And they were fighting, literally fighting, right? Go ahead. The Lord is about to explain why that's happening.
And it says, and the Lord Yahweh said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb.
2 nations are in thy womb. The babies, the 2 babies, the twins that are in your belly represent 2 different nations. Go ahead.
And 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels.
Manner of people, their characteristics, their personalities, right? People, when you go into sports and the movie industry and musicianing, our people have a certain flavor, a certain way about what they do, right? So a lot of people, like for instance, when you're playing basketball, your coach, you hit a shot, you do something, you celebrate. Your coach is like, yo, no celebrating. But that's in the spirit of Jake, is to celebrate. It's called salt. Right? Salt. That's right. That's right.
And it says, and the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger.
Now this is not of us. This is what the Lord did. The Lord created one people to be stronger than the other. That's why in sports, we dominate. The so-called Negros, Latinos, North American Indians, we dominate.
Hey, that's in everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's what they call athleticism or athletic.
Yeah.
That's actually genius. You have 2 men with similar attributes, and saying, how do I get past this smart, intelligent guy within seconds? How do I pass him? Oh, they say it's athletic. No, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
Because what they call education is based on memory. So if you have a good memory, right, which if you're not stressed out, your parents have a good job, they're not fighting in the house, mom and dad together, you can remember things easy, right? But when you're from a so-called black home, right, when the dad ain't there, mom is stressed, has to pay the bills, right, your brother's in jail, you can't remember anything. School isn't important to you, right? So because this is his kingdom, he has good memory because he's not stressed. So that's why I asked, what is he being saved from? Who's chasing him, that so-called white man? Who's bothering him? Nobody. He's bothering himself, right?
And that's because he's in rulership right now. He's in power. Most High gave him the power to rule the world. Right?
But when you go into the history of sports as well, you have to look at the evolution of it. Because when you go into basketball, how it was created first, it was just a basket, but it wasn't cut out. And then when you later on, you see Jake getting involved, they actually had to change the game and put rules. So then they incorporated a 3-point line, they incorporated no dunking zones, alley-oops, all that stuff. And that's all because of Jake, right? They changed the game.
Hey, buddy. See the mindset? See the mindset that the brother has? That's one of the reasons why we lost rulership. Obviously, we lost rulership because it was ordained. Right? That's why when the Caucasians came to this country, what did they call it when they came to the They call it manifest destiny. Because they knew it was their destiny to be in rulership. But the Caucasian man rules with fear. He rules with the fear that you might one day take him over. The problem with Jake, when we were in rulership, we were so strong and we were so bad, we looked at you like you were nothing. We didn't understand plots and conspiracies and things like that. So when we got overran in certain places, we were shocked. Because we looked down on our slaves. Esau, he doesn't look down on you. He's afraid of you. So he plots to
You're good.
never rise up. That's why he keeps his foot on your neck, man. Esau doesn't play with keeping his foot on your neck. And you're like, why? We have nothing. Because he's afraid of you rising up.
Real quick,
He doesn't even want to give you an inch. Why would he want to give you an inch? You guys had him living in caves, sleeping and shitting in the same place. Who would want to go back to that? You could Google the wild man right now. The man had hair all over his body, his face, everywhere.
Wild man.
His women had lice in their crotch area. They were disgusting, man.
What's the native that they put at a floor
They
their
had to
nose?
have a flower just to stand next to an Edomite, man. Stench.
They had the 30 different plagues that they came with. Ticks.
But that's how you know they lied about the Black Death being rats. The Black Death can't be rats. It could be, but it wasn't, because what was happening during that time period, Esau was coming out of the damn caves. When he migrated out of the caves, he was coming into the areas, man. And you Jakes were cleaning them up and bringing them into your armies, because we were going through family feuds at the time, man. We were warring with each other, man. Different houses. Sometimes it was the same houses. We're fighting over the throne. Bloody battles just for the damn throne, man. So you hear us talking about our rulership in the Dark Ages, doesn't mean we're bigging it up. We're just letting you know the history, but we were wicked, man. We weren't good people at that time, man.
It's going back to Robin Hood, like the sheriff of Nottingham. He was overtaxing the people, man.
Yeah, exactly.
King John.
Exactly.
He was overtaxing on people, man.
That's right, man. Yeah, there's food on
Just like how today, where do you think Esau gets the taxes from? Here's the Bible. Over fucking taxing the people, man.
Real quick, this is Deuteronomy 32 and 15. It says, but Jeshurun waxed fat and kicked. Thou art waxing fat, thou art grown thick, thou art covered with fatness. Then he forsook Yahweh, which made him. That's what that was going into, right? We were wicked. We got on a certain level and we did good. We forgot about the Heavenly Father, right? And it says, then he forsook Yahweh, which made him, and lightly esteemed the rock of his salvation. And that ultimately goes into Yahushua, because when Yahushua, the Son of the Lord, came here, he was hated of his own people. They disrespected him, right? They actually crucified him. They actually put him to death, right? So just to back up your point, go back to you guys said, right? That was on Genesis, eh? Yeah.
So this book about Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 14, verse 12, says that the devising of idols was the beginning of spiritual fornication, the invention of them, the corruption of life. For neither were they from the beginning, neither shall they be forever. For by the vainglory of man they entered into the world, and therefore shall they come surely to an end. For our father, afflicted with untimely mourning, when he hath made an image of his child soon taken away, now honored him as a god.
Because they're special people, man. They're heavy into pagan worship. Our people were heavy into pagan worship. They would set up gods that represent animals. When the Heavenly Father, being a living power, gave them understanding of Him, right? But they would worship animals. They worship the sun. They worship the moon, right? The stars. Still do it.
The Greek gods, like the Zeus, right?
Yeah, the Greek gods, it's called the left-hand side of the stars. Zodiac, right? That all goes back to our people worshiping that side. Right?
It says, for our father, afflicted with timely mourning, when he has made an image of his child soon taken away, now honored him as a god, which was then a dead man, delivered to those that were under him ceremonies and sacrifices. Thus in progress of time, an ungodly custom grown strong was kept as a law, and the graven image was worshipped by the commandment of kings, who men could not honor in presence because they dwelt far out. They took the counterfeit of his visage from far and made an express image of a king whom they honored, to the end that by this their forwardness they might flatter him that was absent as if he were present. Also, the singular diligence of the advisor did help to set forward the ignorance to more superstition. So going to how Jacob came up with all these different gods. Yeah. Like that. It's okay, men actually change the images of the gods, like Zeus and them, like all the big gods. That's right. And take them over. But I keep in check.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Revelation 13 and 15. Now we brought out these guys, the banking families, right? That control the money, the finance, really the world, education, right? Go ahead.
And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast.
Right. The beast going, yeah, get that sign. The beast really going back to Rome, right? Because he had life to give power unto the beast. When you go to the Renaissance age, a lot of the religions now, like Christianity, goes back to them. Even a little bit further, right? The way they build their infrastructure. So even in Roman Roman numerals, right? Roman numerals, right? I think if you want to be a lawyer, you have to learn the Latin too, right?
Yeah,
Greek and Latin, the Greek and the Latin, right? So that's a part of giving life. Ultimately, though, go ahead.
That the image of the beast should both speak, and cause that as many as will not worship the image of the beast should be killed.
That's right. Ultimately, the tie in that image is that that CBDC, all right, central bank digital currency. That comes with an imprint. That comes with an imprint that goes into you, right? A tracking device, so to speak.
And it causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand.
Now he did this once already with the pandemic, right? That's why everybody was getting the shots, the jump shots, right? He created, it was a world pandemic, pandemic, really, and it causes everybody, most people really, to take that mark. He's gonna do it again, but this time it's gonna be the final thing, the final stage, right?
Yeah, go ahead. Or in their foreheads. And that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark.
So you know, that tells you that has to do with finances, has to do with money. Whatever he's going to bring has to do with the financial system, which right now, the financial system is corrupt. It's done, really. It's just a matter of time before the financial bubble, they call it, bursts.
Yeah, here's the new money. This is what he's going to get to. Right? You might get to
Yeah, that's forget.
This is the new money. Right? And it's here. And it's going to be what?
Digital, right?
Yeah.
It's digital.
Yeah, but anyway, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here's wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666.
That's right. Now, what you have to think to yourself, what is he going to do to cause everybody to do this? Inflation is on hyperinflation. We're in the midst of hyperinflation, right? I don't know if you know this, but going back to the Bretton Woods system, after World War II, America had 2/3 of the world's gold most of that time. So therefore, they were the standard for world currency. Now, the dollar that we have is not backed by anything. So it's completely done away with. We've got these talks with the digital metaverse, right? You got digital real estate, NFTs, the new updates for these phones, 5G network. All of it is geared ultimately to that mark that the brother read about in Revelation. Okay? That's their ultimate plan. These guys, the banking family, is to have complete control over everybody, right, on the planet, primarily the sons of the Most High, right? Because it goes back to what we read about that hate, the everlasting hate that Esau had for Jacob. That's what that goes back to. You go back to Genesis.
Genesis 3 and 20. And Adam, oh yeah, that's right.
And the mark represents ownership. It's the final thing to let you people know who you are. And to be honest, the metaverse or this digital universe that they're going to give to people, they're letting you know that they own everything now. The game is done. There's nothing left for you people. Especially when the next financial crisis happens. Whoever owns anything when the next financial collapse happens, you're going to lose everything. And who's going to buy it up? At the at the cheap price? They are. On pennies on the dollar? Exactly, to water. Pennies on the dollar? They are. Right? And the only thing you're going to have left, like the guy said, you're going to own nothing and you're going to love it.
Genesis 4.
Once you take it, you're not controlling it. That's what it's about. So they're going to tell you when to get up, when you disobey, turn you off, whatever. Take that. Once everybody takes that, there's going to be a lot of rioting, a lot of just crazy crimes. People running around with axe, this, that, and what the hell's going on? Because there's already crazy stuff already going on already. Mobs of people shooting up gas stations, mobs of people robbing of places. Some crazy shit for sure.
Hey, you might go home and get tased. You don't know why. Right? Something stupid. Something simple. Or make it worse. Or even worse. Real quick, go ahead.
It says, this is from End Time Prophecies, and it says, the currency reset is coming. 90% of nations planning a digital currency.
And it's not a currency reset. Every single fiat currency has a shelf life. They all collapse. There's not one fiat currency on the planet that survives past a certain amount of time. And it's just time for the American dollar to go down. It just so happens to be the world reserve currency, which is why it's going to affect everyone going forward.
It says, a new report from the Bank for International Settlements estimates that up to 90% of nations' national central banks are at least in planning stages for launching central bank digital currency. 9 out of 10 central banks are exploring central bank digital currency.
That's a lie. They're the one that created it. They created its problem reaction solution, man. They created it, man. Go to Abkeo, man. What you're reading is false information, man. Oh, we're looking into it. What do you mean you're looking into it? You created it. They created this, all of this, man. Go ahead.
And it says, and more than half are now developing them or running concrete experiments. In particular, work on rental CBDCs has moved more and more advanced stages. But like the other brought out, man, they've already did this. They created this situation. Like you said, problem action, problem reaction solution. It's on the American dollar. They tell you right there. Right? They create chaos so they can install their order.
Meanwhile, there's Stockholm syndrome in your ass. That's why I brought up that point. That's going on as well. Okay? And it's not something to come.
Because you mentioned how that mentioned about they created this whole situation. When all else fails, take it to war. Once the money stops flowing, the blood starts flowing. Right? They got to sacrifice to them gods, man. That they worship them false gods.
Real quick.
Blood is your wax.
Started over here. Took it into it. Yeah, how do you get it?
They do it on the left side. Every country is a corporation. Countries, anything can share anything.
What's the scripture?
Genesis 4:5. But unto Cain and to his offering he had not respect. And Cain was very wroth, and his countenance fell. And angry, right? And the Lord said unto Cain, why art thou wroth? Why is thy countenance fallen? If thou doest well, shall thou not be accepted? Exactly, and that goes to show you the mentality of Esau.
he knew the right thing to do and didn't do it, and then got upset about not getting recognition for doing the wrong thing. You see? Yeah.
And if thou doest not well, sin lieth at the door.
So the Most High made it straightforward. If you do right, you be blessed. If you do wrong, death lies at the door. So if you sin, you're going to get judged.
A beautiful point. If a wicked Edomite come out and we ask him, why are you an Edomite? He will never tell us. Never. He won't tell us that he's the wicked. We have to tell him. So that's what the Lord was saying, right? It's like simple to say, Esau, stay in your lane, right? You know what right and wrong is because you were told what it is. That's right. But he tried to do what? He being himself, being the serpent. That's his job. But that's the point, though. Like I said, if a wicked would come up right now and we ask him, who are you? He never tells us. Never. We have to tell him.
Right.
And that's what the Lord was doing through his voice. Go ahead, brother.
And unto thee shall be his desire.
Yeah, you have to know the truth.
Yes.
For you to tell a lie.
Yeah, for you to tell a lie, you have to know the truth. So that's how, go back up the other's point, Esau knows the right thing to do. He chooses to do the wrong thing, what you call perverseness. Right? I have to. So you know what's wrong.
And unto thee shall be his desire, and thou shalt rule over him. And Cain talked with Abel, his brother. And it came to pass, when they were in the field, that Cain rose up against Abel, his brother, and slew him.
Yeah, so that's the first murder on earth. Take an account of right there. It's an account of the first murder. Okay?
And the Lord said unto Cain, where is Abel thy brother? And he said, I know not. Am I my brother's keeper?
So he did what? He murdered, he lied. Right? Go ahead.
And he said,
To the Most High. That's right.
and he said, what hast thou done? The voice of thy brother's blood cried unto me from the ground. And now art thou cursed from the earth, which hath opened her mouth to receive thy brother's blood from thy hand.
That's right. Go ahead.
When thou tillest the ground, it shall not henceforth yield unto thee her strength.
That's right.
A fugitive and a vagabond shall thou be in the earth.
So when you till the ground, when you farm to get food, it's going to be hard. You're not going to be able to get the amount of nutrients that you would before you did this, right? Before you committed murder. Now, these banking families, Esau, what do they do to the crops? They put pesticides on them, GMOs on them, right? And all these things are poisons. They put chemtrails in the air, right? And they also call them Cain. Cain is Esau the reincarnation. Where they call them a fugitive and a vagabond. When you're a fugitive and a vagabond, you're on the run. You don't have a place. You don't have a place to call your home.
Weapon on the run.
Quick precept for the blood on the floor. So this is Numbers 35, verse 33. So ye shall not pollute the land wherein ye are, for blood it defiled the land, and the land cannot be cleansed of the blood that is shed therein, but by the blood of him that shed it.
So basically, if you kill somebody, your blood has to be spilled to cancel it out. So the white man has been running around unpunished, so it's basically renewing his judgment. The sentence is going to be passed soon. So this is basically a court hearing. We're having it in public and calling him out and saying, listen, this is going to be your judgment. And he walks by in his courtroom, not knowing what's going on.
On that note, gentlemen,
I know exactly what's going on. I believe 100%.
Well, maybe not a white dude.
I'm pretty sure I'm not white.
I'm from Chile, but you know what?
See, you're the church.
I'm from Chile, man.
See, there you are. You're the church.
Take a picture of the church.
You're an Israelite.
Look at some white guy shitting around the world.
There you go.
He's been lying for a whole life.
So, hey,
I speak truth.
you're an Israelite. All right? Good. All right.
I got
Peace, brother.
All right. That's why it stays so long. He's not going to say He's like, you got fresh yet?
Just to back you up.
Yeah, something real
Peace,
quick.
brother, peace.
Just to back you, like what he was going into. Okay. The land can't be cleansed. But it's just like right now, the Edomites what took us from slavery.
That's right.
We're still in the captive of our slave master.
That's right.
So I just want to bring that out. So this is Exodus chapter 21 verse 16, and it says, and he that stealeth a man and selleth him, or if he be found in his hand, he shall surely be put to death.
Yeah, and that's what the so-called white man has done, man. That's what Esau has done. Right? And that's why there's heavy judgment coming to him. That's why slavery is coming to Esau and the other nations as well.
Well, it's like when you have a speeding ticket, he tells you, for this, so much of speed you go 10 over, you get this amount of money. For this, you get this. So the Moses is saying, if you steal some man and get caught with them, you should surely put to death. Right? So this man is brazen, man.
Also, just want to expound on, because it said his blood cried out to the Lord, but it was spilled. That really just simply means that Adam's in the spirit world complaining about the injustice. So he's telling the Lord, look, he's right there, he just killed me. There's my body outlined in chalk. You know, are you going to get revenge for me? It's a crime.
That's right.
Ecclesiastes 8 and 11. Because sentence against an evil work is not executed speedily, therefore the heart of the sons of men is fully set in them to do evil. Though a sinner do evil 100 times, and his days be prolonged, yet surely I know that it shall be well with them that fear Yahweh, which fear before him. But it shall not be well with the wicked, neither shall he prolong his days, which are as a shadow, because he feareth not before Yahweh.
Yeah. So you Edomites, you can't add even a millisecond to your rulership. The Most High said that you have to prolong your days. So there's everything set up in order. It's already written out. We're just playing it out right now.
And then sometimes you see a shadow, sometimes you don't. Because right now your shadow's in front of you, but you keep like shining, it goes somewhere else. So where'd my shadow go? Right. So Esau's in rulership right now, so that's like a shadow. He's gonna be here, right? So he's gonna be transitory.
That's
here
right.
for a minute, then he's gonna be gone. Right?
That's heavy. That's what he did, right?
Gone.
Going back to Cain.
Yeah, but rulership is sweet, right? We're not there yet, but this is also a sweet part too, man. Coming to your true understanding, man.
Gone.
Because when we were lost, there was nothing worse than that, man. That was the worst feeling in the world. Not knowing who you are, just walking around the world, being tossed to and fro, being able to be told who you are. That was one of the worst things as a man that you could ever go through. So just coming back to the knowledge of your true self, that should be one of the great. This is already Esau's downfall right now. The fact that we're coming back to our true self, man. Our true knowledge, man. That's a great thing, man. So his kingdom is already done, man.
That's right. That's right.
Quick precept, if I may.
Yep.
The book of 2 Esdras, 4, verse 37. That by measure hath he measured the times, and by number hath he numbered the times, and he doth not move nor stir them until the said measure be fulfilled.
Basically, nothing's going to happen until the Most High sanctions it.
Real quick, one more. Job 21, verse 7. Wherefore do the wicked live, become old, yea, are mighty in power? Their seed is established in their sight with them, and their offspring before their eyes. Their houses are safe from fear, neither is the rod of the Most High upon them. Right? Going into what Cain did, because when you later read on, he had a mark put on him so he can't be troubled. And,
Yeah, simply put, he's set up not to fear the Most High. The Lord set him up that way. So to expose him, that mark, read.
the mark is really leprosy, right? And that's to distinguish who he is on the earth. But the main point is, I'm just bringing this out just to show you that they're going to live a long time, even though they're wicked, and a lot of our people are going to question that and say the Lord doesn't love us. Maybe I should do the ways of the wicked because they're prospering and they're not getting judged. And Shemaim brought out a beautiful scripture about the sentence, right?
Right.
So I'm just bringing that in to tie it in. That was it.
Genesis 4 and 13.
You got another one?
Just to look at what I was reading before.
Come on.
The book of Job 14 verse 5 says that seeing his days are determined, the number of his months are will be. That was appointed his bounds they cannot pass. So basically like going to like how these kingdoms came up, how they rose up and go down, most actually like other time when they come in and when they go out.
Genesis 4 and 13. And
Hey, and that's one of the reasons you shouldn't rush it. Because you don't even have to pick up a sword, man. You know how great that is, man? you don't have to pick up a sword and fight for this kingdom. Well, you do have to pick up a sword, but it's a spiritual one. Right? With the word. But this is a blessing, man. Imagine we had to get ready, arm up, militarists. That would be terrible, man.
Esau would love that.
Yeah, he would love that.
Where are these shepherds going?
You'll do what he did in Philadelphia, even worse.
Yeah, we did
That move niggas.
Yeah, good.
Bomb them.
Rastaman.
Oh, what's your balance?
Genesis 4:13.
Hey, because remember, when Esau gets the report on them, you know, he's just like, hey, so what's the report this month? Nah, they still doing the same shit. Still on the corner. Still reading the Bible. That's right. Any guns?
Any guns? There was a big fat agent right over there. What? Listening for about 20 minutes. Those were his words.
Any guns? Side things.
With the cowboy hat.
In Genesis 4:13. And Cain said unto the Lord, my punishment is greater than I can bear. Behold, thou hast driven me out this day from the face of the earth. And from thy face shall I be hid. And I shall be a fugitive and a vagabond in the earth. And it shall come to pass that everyone that findeth me shall slay me.
That's because really at that time everybody was a certain color, right? So he wasn't first in the front yet, but when you going down to Esau, back then it wasn't really that normal to see a so-called white man or a person that it wasn't normal at all to see a person that was black in the skin that had no melanin. That's right, the blood was showing 43.
Verse 15, and the Lord said unto him, therefore whosoever slayeth Cain, vengeance shall be taken upon him sevenfold.
Right, man. Job 9:24. That's why he's in rulership right now.
Yeah, Jeremiah. He was a golden cup in the Lord's hand. Couldn't touch him. He's actually untouchable. Ask him.
We're prophesying, we're actually talking about
You know you gotta come close and look at what he's doing. Look.
Oh, you guys are. Oh, you're.
It's all tribes of Israel. So, you got the biblical names, left side there, you got other names now. Negroes, Latinos, and West Indians. So, when you hear about the Israelites, that's talking about these people according to the Bible. Yeah, so we get Deuteronomy 28
They're in every land. They're in Korea, China, on and on and on. Those people.
They're scattered across the world.
Oh, that's cool.
So we're basically waking these people back up to their true nationality.
Hey, yeah, we see you guys here like every week. So we're like, we don't know what you guys are doing.
How you doing?
Cool.
Good.
Bye.
Don't get hit by the car.
Okay, watch out.
I know.
Anyway, somebody get that for edification real quick.
Deuteronomy 38?
Yeah. And I think 68.
This is Deuteronomy 28 and 68. The Lord Yahweh shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you.
Okay, so these people were put into slavery, right? Starting with over in the Americas. Now, what is that talking about? It's talking about slavery, right? Now, how do you know that's talking about slavery? So he'll bring you to Egypt again. Like, how would you know that's not talking about past Egypt? Or let me ask you what the word Egypt means. It'll just be like that.
It's house of bondage.
Bondage. Bondage. This bondage. So that's also how you know that we were brought into, it's talking about slavery, we were brought into bondage again. We were already in bondage in the old Egypt.
Genesis 4:15. And the Lord said unto him, therefore whosoever slayeth Cain, vengeance shall be taken upon him sevenfold. And the Lord set a mark upon Cain, lest any finding him should kill him.
Yeah, that mark later on appeared, and that's that pigment in his skin, the lack of melanin. You come through, you good, you good, bro. the melanin, the lack of melanin in their skin, right? That's why they gotta put on sunscreen before, and they gotta put it on after. And sunglasses, that's right.
And Cain went out from the presence of the Lord and dwelt in the land of Nod on the east of Eden. And Cain knew his wife, and she conceived and bare Enoch.
Yeah, so for any you younger brothers, you come across a Christian that still believes that it was just Adam and Eve, you can simply just read this verse and you'll cut that right away. If it was just Adam and Eve and Cain and Abel, how did Cain find a wife? Right?
And he builded a city and called the name of the city after the name of the son Enoch. Unto Enoch was born Iran, and Iran begat Mehuel, and Mehuel begat Methuselah, and Methuselah begat Lamech. And Lamech took unto his 2 wives, the name of the one was Adah, and the name of the other Zillah. And Adah bare Jabal. He was the father of such as dwell in tents, and such as have cattle. And his brother's name was Jubal. He was the father of all such as handle the harp and the organ. And Zillah, she also bare Tubal-Cain, an instructor of every artificer in brass and iron. And the sister of Tubal-Cain was Naamah.
Weapons, yeah. Weapons, exactly. That's the spirit.
That's Esau's blessing right now.
That's right.
Cain was blessing. Actually, Cain name actually means
weapon.
Weapon.
Yeah.
And Lamech said unto his wives, Adah and Zillah, hear my voice, ye wives of Lamech. Hearken unto my speech, for I have slain a man to my wounding, and a young man to my hurt. If Cain shall be avenged sevenfold.
I'm sorry, brother, because when you go into Tubal-Cain, it really goes back into alchemy, right? When you look up alchemy, it's really breaking down metals. So that's why when you read, what's it? I think it's, it says, I've created the smith to destroy. That's going into the modern day scientists as well, because that's a high science, right? It's a form of alchemy, right? So what they're doing in the lab is they're breaking down the atom, they're compressing it, making the warhead. That's all alchemy. So it really applies to Esau, Tubal-Cain today.
Yeah.
Right? When you go into
I think it was Albert Pike that said that Freemasonry is just witchcraft. Right?
If Cain shall be avenged sevenfold, truly Lamech 70 and sevenfold.
So he was boasting in his forefather Cain in murder. Right?
And Adam knew his wife again, and she bare a son, and called his name Seth.
Right?
For Yahweh said, she hath appointed me another seed instead of Abel, who Cain slew. And to Seth, to him also there was born a son, and he called his name Enos. Then began men to call upon the name of the Lord.
That's right. Then began men to call upon the name of the Lord. And that trickles down to the nation of Israel. Okay? So that's it on that chapter, right?
Yep.
Let's go to the 6th chapter. Let's go. Okay. So next week we'll go into the 6th chapter. So with that, we're going to close, giving all praise and honor and glory
To Yahweh, Hashem, Yahushua, Hashem, Rakadash.
Double honor to the apostles, also very much for love, God's word and truth and sincerity, and peace and mercy to the hopeful, salutation to the hopeful elect, that are also pushing the word and truth and sincerity, and peace and mercy to the hopeful one that may listen. Above. All well to next week. Shalom.
Right, huh?
You're comfortable too, huh?
No here. You're standing on the fucking concrete.
It's not comfortable.
Yes.